morning. We are continuing the investigation under Section 59 of the Medical Schemes Act. Today we will be hearing testimonies from CleanPath Laboratory and JMH Holdings. The first presentation will be from CleanPath. Good morning, gentlemen. I see there are two gentlemen sitting at the front. I presume you are from CleanPath. All right, good. The procedure we follow is we usually take an oath from the person that will be presenting. If there is more than one person, we take the oath from both of them. So what are you planning to do? Are you going to both be speaking? Okay, very good. Well, let's start with the gentleman on the left, or on my left. So what's your name?
Rajendra Kumar Penku.
Just, can you spell your surname?
P-H-E-N-K-O-O.
P-H-E-N-K-O-O.
Yes.
Is it Mr. or Doctor?
No, Mr.
Mr. Penko.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Penko, will you then say after me, I and your full name?
I, Rajendra Kumar Penku,
swear that the evidence that I shall give
swear that the evidence that I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth.
If so, raise your right hand and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. And your colleague will also be talking.
Yes.
What is your surname?
Hari Prasad.
Hari Prasad. All right. So, Mr. Hari Prasad, can we take your oath as well? All right. So, will you say after me, I and your full names?
I, Rajendra Hari Prasad,
swear that the evidence that I shall give
swear that the evidence that I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
If so, raise your right hand and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. So we have received your written submissions, but I presume that you will be taking us through that, or you have a PowerPoint presentation, or in whatever format you want to present.
Well, we really don't have any sort of PowerPoint or anything. We're just going to talk through our experiences as it happened to us, and then we'll take it from there.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right. I'll just give a brief background on CleanPath Laboratories. We've been operating for 11 years. It operated on my practice number initially as a medical technologist. Then we moved over to a pathologist practice number. And after the audit that we went through, the pathologist exited the practice, and it went back to my practice number. All right.
Mr. Hari Prasad, perhaps you can start just by explaining how pathology practices work and how pathologists work with medical technologists for the benefit of everyone.
Okay. Pathology labs are normally run, there's two ways that pathology labs are run. One, using pathology, a pathologist runs their lab and they employ medical technologists. And the other one is where a medical technologist employs other medical technologists and runs their labs.
Can you tell us what a medical technologist does versus what a pathologist does?
Okay, a medical technologist is, you basically, it's a Bachelor of Laboratory Science that you study at a University of Technology. And while a pathologist is somebody that does a medical degree, a MB, CHP, and then they further specialize into their respective fields, whether it's, there's different fields. I think there's about 7 or 8 fields like hematology, clinical pathology, virology, chemical pathology. So there's a various qualifications that they go through.
So you've explained the two models to us. In the model where a medical technologist employs other medical technologists, why is that a pathology practice and not a medical technology practice?
Well, it is a medical technology practice, but we are claiming for the same work. Our scope of practice is basically the same with a few exclusions. So we can do the same sort of laboratory testing, but there are a few exclusions. And
Can you interpret the results, or is that only a pathologist who
no,
can?
I can. It's in my scope to interpret results. Pathologists also, they can interpret results as well.
And final question on this point, certainly from my side, where do we find a clear description of your scope of practice as a medical technologist, I should say?
Well, I think the Health Professional Council should have that somewhere with the SMLTSA, the Society of Medical Technologists of South Africa.
As I understand it, scope of practices are published under the Health Professions Act. I'm just checking whether one is published for medical technology.
Yes.
And then before you go on, can you just explain to us the structure, the ownership and employment structure of ClinPath?
Okay. The practice runs under my practice number. I have employed 2 other guys to manage the practice for me. That's the financial director and the marketing director.
Yes. I suppose on the business side, you must just also explain the entire value chain. Because from your presentation, it's clear that the business model interacts with medical specialists, it interacts with medical schemes, and so we just want to get a full sense of the value chain.
Okay, how it works is it's simple. I am a medical technologist. I applied with the Board of Health Funders. I've got a practice number that allows me to do independent practice, right? So I go out to clinicians, canvass for samples from them, set up an infrastructure to do the lab testing, issue them back results, submit those patients that that we've got from the doctors, the clinicians, and submit it to the medical aids to be remunerated.
A point of clarity, you say the practice currently is run under your practice number. You have sent the panel a letter which has ClinPath Laboratories CC as the header, and the practice number there is 02765553. Is that your practice number?
That's my practice number. Can I go on?
Is that an individual practice number? I mean, can you use that practice number in respect of the close corporation?
No.
Why are you using it?
Well, that's the management of the practice. The 3 of us manage that practice, but they claim on my practice number.
I mean, I just want to understand where the risk lies, you see, because when the Board of Healthcare Funders gives you a number, if that number is abused, the risk lies on you as an individual.
That's
but if
correct.
you spread it 3 ways, including people who don't have those numbers, your FD and your marketing director, they have no risk under the board of healthcare funders, but now there is a scope for abuse of that. So that's why I'm asking, why are you using your personal number in respect of your business? Because that might be a source of confusion about where the liability lies if something
Well, the
goes wrong.
liability lies with me because it's my practice number. I'm a medical professional, so if there's abuse or fraud or whatever, I am liable for that. So it's in my interest to ensure that I'm not involved in any of that.
All right. Anyway, take us through then. So have you finished explaining the business model in relation to the value chain?
Yeah,
So
it's the,
my understanding is on the clinical side, you go to clinicians, you take the samples, you test them, and you return them.
we
with the
return
results.
reports
Yeah.
to the doctors, and we submit those claims through to the medical aids to be funded. Right? As it stands now, my business, this practice has collapsed. I've closed. By end of this month, I'm going to seek employment in another lab somewhere. My practice is, just disintegrated at the moment. So
Can you start at the? Sorry. Can you start at the beginning?
okay,
Mr.
as it happened, like I said, we were practicing under Dr. Manda's practice. She's a pathologist. We went through through that audit with Met scheme. We had to pay a penalty of 300,000.
No. You see, when my colleague says start from scratch, we want to understand the entire story. We've received them, we read them, but you must still tell us as if we have not received them and as if we have not read them.
Okay.
So if you start off with the payment of 300,000, that's the end of the story, not the beginning.
Okay.
Perhaps an appropriate place to start might be explaining how you partnered with Dr. Manda and how you used her practice number.
Okay. Dr. Manda joined us about, say, 4 years ago. And she came into the practice. We were a medical technology practice. Medical technologists get paid about 25% less than pathologists. It varies. On different tests, it's like 10%. Some tests, it's like 50%, 30%. It's a wide range. So we took the decision to find a pathologist who can do those tests or make those claims for us, for the practice.
So that you could earn more
Well,
for the same test.
Yes. To, how can I put it? The fact that you got a pathologist gives you more credibility in the marketplace, where it's like how there's a radiologist and a radiographer. It's similar like that, where a radiologist, you get more credibility as a radiologist, while a radiographer is just somebody that just does the test, sends it to the doctor. So if a doctor wants a consult, he can talk to me. But however, a doctor will want to speak to a doctor. So hence we went and found Dr. Manda, and she joined us about 4 to 5 years ago.
And how did she join you? Did she employ you? Is she a partner? Did you employ her? Or how did she join you?
Well, she joined as a partner, and we were responsible. She employed us thereafter to take care of the business. To take care
What
of
do you mean by
the
she
claim.
joined as a partner?
She joined as a shareholder on the CC.
Then you say she employed you.
As a medical technologist to oversee the running of the laboratory. Dr.
So
Manda
does
subsequently...
explain how it came about that her practice number was used?
Well, the claims were submitted under her practice number to the medical schemes.
So the claims were submitted under her practice number to the medical schemes. In whose name were they submitted?
Her name as an individual.
And then who got paid?
The practice, Clinpath Laboratories. And she gave us authority to collect those monies on her behalf, and she was taking funds from there.
And what was Dr. Manda's clinical role in the practice?
She was the consulting pathologist.
So she analyzed every test.
Well, she looked at the results and provided feedback to doctors on the tests that were done. If they wanted any consultation or anything like that, they were speaking to her directly.
And was your arrangement with Dr. Manda to take a share of what was paid to Clinpath as a result of submissions on her practice number? Was that arrangement in writing?
Yes.
And did you make that arrangement known to MedScheme?
No, ma'am. I'm not sure about that one.
All right, continue.
Okay, as it happened, we got correspondence. Okay, like I said, there was, we got correspondence from MedScheme stating that they wanted to audit the practice initially for under Dr. Manda's practice. I can just confirm what date that was. I think it was about 2018, 2016. Can I just confirm that where we got the letter from MedScheme stating that the practice was going to be audited?
For ease of reference, it's the 14th of May, I think, 2018, certainly on our records. And I just want to check you have a bundle in front of you so you can refer easily to it. Is your bundle paginated?
Yes, ma'am. What page do you say that is?
27 on my bundle.
Yes, yes. On the 14th of May, 2018. And then that went on right up until the end of, I think it was August, where the payment was being withheld, and then we signed, my financial director went up and met them, and a penalty of 300,000 was paid.
Sorry, can I add on that? The penalty was based on, we did an audit, and the audit process went through individual patient or medical aid numbers and the number of tests per code. And because I did a Pareto analysis, meaning I took 20% of the claims, at that stage, with the back and forth, it was a lot higher the amount. I can't actually remember clearly, but at that time it came down to about 800,000. And I took the Pareto analysis of the 2080 analysis. I took 20% of the claims and we went through that. And on ending off, that was about the 15th of August, I think, if I remember correctly, where it was a female, Anita. She says that you got to resolve it today, and by day end it has to be resolved. I call them back and I tell them this is the setup because we didn't do a 100% check, so the difference worked out to just about the 300,000.
The 284,000.
Yes, 284 to be exact. That difference we paid in penalty. So due to cash constraints of the business also, people were not being paid, and at that stage we had about 80 some odd staff members. I'm talking people employed at various locations where we had bleeding rooms and what have you. And based on that, Dr. Valerie Manda made the call of saying that call it a day, it's okay, let's take what we can take to keep the business going. So based on that, Anita, myself and Devon agreed, and they said we're not going to visit that again. It's a closed book. So
just take a step back.
Yeah.
You went and met with the
Anita?
two med scheme investigators.
Yes.
And why did you go and meet with them? And what was their complaint?
Their complaint was that,
How did they determine the
Okay.
amount of 284,000?
in fact, if you go back, they send a matrix of, let's take a step back, they send a matrix of Medicaid numbers. That Medicaid number tie up to a patient. And that patient, what we did was, we went back into our system, into our lab system.
Can I just ask you to slow down and take us to the documents where you're seeing this matrix?
Okay. Let's. That's 2019, 26, 18. Be this one now. That's. No. I'll tell you now. 26 June 2018, 2018. Okay, if I go to page 27, the page that you referred us to, 14th of May 2018, that was for med scheme. That document, if you go to page 28, they basically request an audit from a date prior to a certain date. Those are the patients that they want an audit on. So similar to that, they give you a bonitas. The bonitas is handled separately. That's on page 30. 31 is the matrix. So based on that, in the month of May going up to August, the same year, it was back and forth, and when I challenged it, they added on more patients or more Medicaid numbers. But I still did the audit. I still went and pulled out the data from our system, meaning I'll take, for example, 3755, which is an FBC, sorry to go into the details.
So let me just take
Yeah.
you to the documents. In the letter you've sent the panel on page 39. Are you at the right page?
39. Okay. I'm at the page.
The third paragraph down, the last sentence reads, we had to data fish in archives as well as look for forms in storage. And then you say refer to attached audit documents. And you, there are two, it looks like attachments which we haven't received. Is that what you're talking about?
Okay. This feedback is based on the second audit, this feedback that you see, but it does refer to the first audit also. There was two audits. So this feedback is pulling in the first audit also.
So the first audit starts on page 27.
Yes.
That's the med scheme
and
for
bonitas.
about 13 patients. And then there was a second by
Second audit.
Bonitas for about 9.
No. Together with that, med scheme has got a good few Mediclaids on the med scheme, and bonitas is considered separately. For whatever reason, I'm not sure.
If I can interject, they're both administered by the same group. So med
But they're really
scheme,
different.
yeah, it's handled by different, well, I think the same organization, just it's different divisions or different administrators.
Okay, but there are different patient names under the letter from Bonitas.
Yes. So effectively, they're administering it, and then you got MedScheme, which is call it a whole host of mediclates, and then you've got Bonitas handled individually for whatever reason, I'm not sure. So in May, based on that, we went through back and forth. Initially, it was a ridiculous amount of, I think, good couple of hundred million rand or whatever the case is.
What is missing in my mind is I
Yes.
understand the relationship between MedScheme and Bonitas. What I don't understand is what you sent them, because those documents are not attached to
No,
the
okay,
submission.
this-
So I'd like an explanation of that.
Okay. Like we've agreed in August, that chapter was closed. We paid the penalty.
Wait.
Yes.
So you were requested to provide some detailed information in relation to certain patients
Yes.
and blood tests that were conducted
for the first audit.
for them. Yes, let's
Yeah.
start with the
Yeah.
first audit.
Yes.
You then say you did a data phishing exercise.
Yes.
And you provided all that
Yes, I
information
provided all of that
to
information
MedScheme.
To MedScheme, yes.
And what did MedScheme do with that information? Why did you have to pay a penalty, as you call it, if all of the information had been provided and it resolved the problem?
In fact, it's because I went and I picked 20 line items out of there. Out of the entire list, I picked 20 items, the 80-20 Pareto analysis. I took 20% of it and I went into line items with the files, with everything in there. They say it's because I didn't do a 100% check. A 100% check. So you have to. Finished. And that's the difference, that 20% equates to 600 some odd thousand. It was 800 some odd thousand. The difference there is the 284,000. Because you didn't do that other 100% check of it, you got to pay it. We closed off with Anita and Devan.
But how is the 284,000 calculated? Based on the claims,
Yes.
the total claims
Yes.
for those patients?
For those patients.
Why are you telling us about 80-20? Where does that come from?
From a management perspective, statistical analysis, when you do a consensus, if you call it 5,000 pages, you generally take a percentage to come up with some sort of feeling of which direction you're going to go. And due to time constraints, and they were wanting to resolve within that day, very quickly I looked at 20% of the claims and it was random. It was a random pick, statistical analysis. Of the data that
they requested?
Yes. No, it was, they've requested the Medicare numbers, call it 10 patients, 10 patients Bonitas, 10 patients MedScheme. We put it together and they came back and they said, okay, that code for that Medicare number, we did 20. They say we did 20. I told them, no, we did 19. And I validated with our lab system. I validated with the MediSwitch, which is an independent company that we use, and we showed them the results for it. So based on that now, I took 20% of that, saying that the 20% that I took equates to 600 some odd thousand, and we validated every line item, it equates to your 100% check. So, but we didn't do every line item. We only took 20% of that. If you understand what I'm saying. Does that make sense? Sorry.
How long did it take you to do that?
It took a while because our system crashed and all of that type of thing. So I had to pull up data from archive.
How long is a while? Days, months, weeks, hours?
It took us a while. It took us about a month, maybe more. Because it was manual. I had to go flip up in boxes. I brought a box here on the second audit to show you exactly what it constitutes. It's where we've got to go pull up the raw data, and the raw data also gets filed in terms of what gets printed out from the machine. We file that, plus we had to print out reports, actual patient reports, which was archived. And then attach that with our submissions to them. I put it in a matrix.
I can explain to you why this is not clear. I'm looking at what the documents in front of me.
Yes.
And I can see what MedScheme asked for. I can see they asked for, in relation to these patients, they want patients' blood request forms, they want copies of the results, They want copies of the service records, they want copies of the contracts, etc., etc., if you look at page 28. Then I go to your letter which explains how you responded. And all you tell me is that we have to data fish in archives as well as look for forms, and then you say refer to the attached documents, which we don't have. So we don't know what you did or what you submitted to them. If you treat me like I'm your grandmother, explain it to me that way.
Okay.
Because I can assure you, without the documents in front of me, it's going to be very difficult to follow you.
Okay. This is an example of a file. I don't know, maybe I could approach the desk. Can I?
Yeah, well, we can give it to someone from the...
Can share it here. Okay.
On that folder itself, we got the member number, we got the patient's name, and we've got the date of service day. And in the file itself, it's a requisition form, the instruction that we get from the doctor to say what we need to be done, the result that we have to print out from our system, some have a lot more, some have a lot less, but the result itself shows what was requested, corresponds with that. I together put it into a matrix with coming from MediSwitch, which is an Altron group that does our electronic submissions. So I had to collate all of that into an Excel. I'm not sure whether this...
Now,
I'll
why
put a
do you do
spreadsheet up.
that? Why do you do that instead of give them the documents they ask for?
That's the documents asked for.
So included in that is the blood request forms were all
Yes.
there.
That's
So
what they
you,
asked for.
it's a PDF with all
Yes.
these things
All
scanned
of it
in.
is there. Yes.
Thank you.
So what they've asked for is what I gave them.
But you gave them 20% of what they asked for.
Let's understand and let's separate the first audit to the second audit. The first audit, yes, I gave them everything,
Okay.
everything, but I only evaluated 20% of it. Meaning that I've chose 20% of it to prove my point.
To prove your point that,
that we've got our data in order. It's just that we didn't have enough time for the day to do the full 100%.
Can I just clarify that? We got, from MedScheme, we got 13 patients, and we got from Bonitas 9 patients.
Yes, it went to 30 thereafter.
Yeah. Then they asked for more. We submitted these documents, the lab form from the doctor, the results that went out to the doctor. Basically, essentially those two things. We verified it against what was billed and what was paid for from their medical aid, from their website. So, on that day, when Rajan went up, we had to make a call. The call was this: listen, there's so many millions owing. We are saying that y'all perpetrated fraud. There's a discrepancy. If we did 19 FBCs, they asked for 20. The one now, they penalized us for not having that data. So that, they said that is now fraud. You don't have that data. You have to, that's a penalty for you. So if I submitted 15 viral loads.
But
And-
we do need that set of documents. I see they've been returned to you,
Yes.
but we should take them and copy them.
Okay, can I go on? So basically what happened is, if you have a look at that, we need to actually provide you guys with that document that they sent back to us to say, right, you submitted this documents. From that documents that you submitted, we only got 19, one is missing. We asked, can you give us that one that's outstanding, and we can go and look for it. Give us more time for that. However, at that time when he went up, from that whole analysis and whatever they did, like if I did 15 tests and I only provided 13, this thing, for that 2 was a penalty. So I had to pay that penalty. So if the test cost 50 Rand, so I had to pay 100 Rand because that 2 tests were, I didn't provide the 2 documents.
But
So it all worked out that,
So you couldn't prove to them that you had done those additional
Yes.
2 tests.
but
that
we've
you claimed
requested.
for.
we requested time extension to get their documents. However, we requested that for the stuff that we submitted, pay us the thing, you know? I mean, we gave you all the documents. The other stuff, will give us more time and we'll provide the documents to show you all that we did the test. Like I said, we had stuff in storage. We had to go and retrieve those boxes from 2016. We archived most of our data, you know, on the IT system as well. We did experience an IT crash, so that became a nightmare for us as well. So we were just not happy the way they did this thing.
So in your example, they ask you to provide documents for 15 tests to prove that you did those tests.
Yes.
You provided 13.
Right.
Were they satisfied with the 13 that you provided to say those were,
Well,
were they satisfied?
That's, I don't think so. They were satisfied.
What remained to be the problem in respect of the 13?
Okay, I'd like to, we've submitted the data. For the ones that he says that show the 2 that we didn't, we said, okay, give us the data. You say for, call it Raj Penku, we did 3755, you did 20 of. We submitted 18. We don't have another 2 for Raj Penku in all our data. Please, you tell us when the date was, what we did.
But you claimed for it.
No, we didn't claim for it. They claimed that we did 20. We submitted 18, we claimed for 18. They say we did 20. So you said you did 2 more. So please give us the data. Please tell us when was that. How, when? So at least we can go back and reflect. Maybe we've missed something, maybe I didn't go into a box. I don't know, but our record on MediSwitch that does the submission, electronic submission, don't show that additional. So it was asking something that we didn't do.
Can I just take you back? Because you see, what we are trying to do, we're trying to see whether there is anything unfair in the way that the schemes are administering their authority under Section 59 of the Act.
Okay.
So one of the things that they do is to conduct investigation to verify whether or not you did provide the services that you've claimed for.
Yes.
Now, the reason we are struggling with getting the sequence right is because you jump into the end without giving us the step-by-step. Now, you've just mentioned, Mr. Haripasan has just mentioned that you felt that the way they did it was unfair. Now, unless you took us through the steps, it's very difficult for us to work out why you say things were not done fairly. Is it because you could have proven all of the 15 tests, but you were not given enough time? Or is it because you never claimed for the 2 that they allege you claimed for, and in respect of the 13 that you claimed for, as far as you were concerned, everything had been done according to book, and the unfairness then came when they alleged they never proved, but you felt they were putting you under too much pressure?
Okay. To respond to that, on the first audit, due to business constraints, Dr. Valerie Manda made the call of saying, it's okay, forgo, it's okay. We'll continue with business as normal, the 280. On the second audit...
What is okay that you can go? Because we want to understand, how do the schemes administer their investigations, and what impact that has on you?
Can I just respond there? Well, that's the whole issue that we've got with MedScheme. The audit process, we could never get clarity on the audit process. That is why we're making this complaint. They audited us. Fair enough. We provided some data. However, when we asked them, you say that we claimed for this patient. Show me that claim. They didn't give us that information. If they told me I did 20 FPCs on Rajan Penku, but I submitted 18, I'm asking them, give me details of the other 2. You cannot make the allegation that I defrauded this medical aid.
Okay, sorry. I'd like to bring back to.
Can I just
the
pause you
unfair,
there?
okay.
Because this is also going to the unfairness, as I understand it. So we've read your submission, and I just want to take you to it to make sure that we're understanding it properly. At page 39, again, you go to paragraph 4.
Yes.
The 4th line, you say no claim numbers and service dates were provided. Is this the point you're making?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Hariprasad?
Yes.
Okay, if you go to page 41.
Yes.
The second sentence, you say Divan, and this is MedScheme, Divan Fleming, responded by stating that his data was, her data was compiled from a statistical report, and he himself, herself, does not know which patients or claims the variances from his audit pertains to. Is this what you're saying?
Yes.
Can you explain that just with reference to the specific examples? So
Okay.
you've submitted 13, proof that you've serviced, let's say, 13 patients. They say you've serviced 15. You ask them to provide proof that they've serviced the extra 2. And as I understand it, they cannot.
They haven't
They haven't, up till this
to
date,
this date.
that they have not given us that information to say, you made a claim of 15. We say we only did 13. We never got paid for that other 2. So show us that information that you've got on your system.
Now, why do they not give it to you?
We've requested on numerous occasions and we never got any feedback on it. It's our data, it is our property. That's the response I got from Devan. Okay, I'd like to further enhance this that you're talking about. If you refer to page 13, that was correspondence on the 27th of February this year. I'll take you to.
Sorry, Mr.
Yes,
Penku. I
so-
just we've all read all of this,
Okay,
right?
no, no,
so we're looking for the gaps.
I think
Okay.
he just wants to.
And the one thing I just want to clarify is that when you're talking about specific tests or claims,
Yes.
were they saying were they saying that for patient, when they say you over-serviced a patient, they must have a claim, right, that they have assessed, which to them looks like you've done more test, whatever number, than ought to be done,
Okay.
right? So is that what they are saying to you, that for a particular patient, they don't know the name of the patient, but they know the medical scheme number?
They may.
You over-serviced.
Yes, that's what they say. They respond to us and the matrix that's disclosed to us from them. They do not tie that back to that medical aid number. My response is going back from that patient. I create that medical aid number, which is a patient. I create all of those dates of services. If it was 10 times, I got the dates of services. I got the lab number per date of service. Requisition of each one. A requisition meaning the instructions to perform those pathology. Together with the results. I've created a matrix with that going back, but their response to us is they only take a code and they say you've over-serviced. So they don't tie it back to a patient. I don't see that. So therefore we request, which patient is that additional? Please tell us.
So they take a code
They take a code.
and
not
they
tie
say
back.
you've done
Yes.
100 tests under this code number,
Yes.
and that is over-servicing. Why?
Now that's what we want to find out from them. If you say this code is, we did 2 extra, please give us the details. Tell us which medical aid number it is. We'll go back and have a look at it.
But there's another issue here, which is that it's not you, the lab, who determines what tests to do.
No, it's the doctor.
It's the
that's
doctor.
requested. Yes, the doctor.
So the
requests
doctor will submit the
that
blood
instruction.
request form
Yes,
and will tick on the boxes
Yes.
what you must do.
yes. We only obey that instruction. I'd like to further enhance this. The correspondence starts from page 13, but I'd like to go to the summary that's on page 15. if you go down to the matrix itself, it says 407,930 rand 46 cents. Sorry, are we on there? And that is for med scheme. On the same date, for correspondence on the 17th, that's for Bonitas now.
On page 17.
On page 17, but I'll go to the end of that, which is on page 19. At the end of that matrix, it says a value of 407,930 rand 46 cents also. So you've got med scheme, Bonitas, which is different. They're doing the same matrix for identical. It can never be. It can never be that we've performed, they duplicated that matrix. They've duplicated that matrix, applying those codes on both the, call it, columns. I'd like to further enhance that on page 15, with the matrix showing 407,930 rands 46 cents, if you go to the paragraph below that, your erroneous claims in bold says 183,000. But if you go to the Bonitas one, on the same, on page 19, there your erroneous claims is 224,000 rand. So how is that possible? With the very same matrix, which I disagree with. Because collectively, it's Bonitas and med scheme, all of them, you can add it up if you understand. So for us to do 407,000 on med scheme itself and 407,000 on Bonitas itself, it's impossible.
But is it not what they're saying? The two amounts add up to 407.
No, it's specific for med scheme. That's specific for Bonitas.
Yes, but it's 183 some odd plus 224,
yes.
which adds up to the total
Yes.
amount.
But I'm saying that the table itself cannot be the same. Because we take a Medicaid number, which is a patient. That's for med scheme. Okay, maybe I should just show you.
Because MedScheme
Yes.
administers Bonitas as well, isn't
Yes.
that?
But on the first audit, those two matrices were different.
Okay, the point what Rajan is making here, if you look at that on page 14,
The first item.
3743, it says
Yes, sir.
total claim was 5, total correct was 3, total incorrect was 2, right?
Percentage.
And there's a percentage of 40% which we get penalized for, right? You go on to page 18,
It's a very simple.
and it's the same thing there. You look at the second line item, 1915.4. The third line item, 642. Third line item, 642. So it seems like they just copied and pasted the thing and said, go and find that 3 is, that first line 2 is wrong, go and find me the data for that 2.
If in my mind right now, for that particular code, they said that we did 5 total claims for med scheme with all the Mediclades, and Bonitas we've also done 5. So in other words, they're saying we did 10.
The innocuous answer would be that this is just a little bit lazy and they just replicated the table, but they've split it by virtue of the proportion of members that are on Bonitas and the proportion of members on the other.
No, they didn't proportion it. They
How do you know?
We went through our data, and based on our data, therefore, could I actually put the matrix up? No. I got a matrix on my laptop, sorry.
Sorry, I mean,
Will display the detail I'm talking about.
yeah, I mean, look, there is a problem in the sense that the total figure at 15 is 407, and the total figure at 19 is also 407. But these are meant to, but the figure below 407 at 15 is 183, and the figure below 407 at 19 is 224. So that's your complaint. That
Yes.
there's inconsistency in the numbers.
It cannot be correct.
Yeah. Look, that's fine. Can we just get into the problems that you are identifying with the methods. I mean, I can see this, there can be an explanation to it.
Yes.
This is not we shouldn't be spending a lot of time on the fact
Okay.
that the numbers do not correlate.
Okay.
So let's get
We
into what
don't
you
have
said.
much time. All I can say is, ma'am, madams and sir, we went through an audit twice. They failed to provide us with data from the first audit of what we did wrong or what they claim we did wrong. On the second audit, they told us the same thing. We asked for the discrepancy data, they couldn't provide it for us, right? They stopped our payments. They've excluded us from claiming on my practice number
April.
from April onwards, from the 1st of April, right? So my complaint is very simple. Y'all audited us, but you're not coming back with the information about what y'all claim I did wrong. Provide me with that information,
Now, in
and I
relation
will
to the-
fight that
to
thing.
what you call the first audit, just to make sure that we understand what your complaint is. They identified what you call 15 files or 15 patient files, and they asked for specific information per file. On your version, you gave them everything.
Yes.
As much as information as we could.
Yes, and they didn't question the information that you gave. They simply said there was outstanding information in relation to different files.
Yes.
Yes. Now, in relation to those different files, you say you didn't have the information and you asked them to give it to you.
Yes.
And they said it's our own information, you don't have a right of access to it.
Okay, just to enhance on your thing, it's because they don't tie it back to a Medicaid number or a patient. It's very difficult to actually say that yes, we made an error on Raj Bengu. The matrix is purely in a code. So it's very difficult to actually go back and say that we've overserviced Raj Bengu. I'd like to, I've got a matrix here. It's just a pity that we can't.
Could you slow and explain why would you be responsible for overservicing and not the doctor? Because you don't make the request for the blood tests.
Yes, no, it's not us. They want us to quantify what we got paid for in relation to our submissions and what we got paid for. So yes, we're not questioning the what test we do. So yes, the requisition proves that what was requested is what was done. We didn't do anything more than that because the facts speaks for themselves. Now the difference is that they say we did so many more of a particular test, and we've researched our data, we went and pulled out and we submitted it, and they say we did extra, and we asked for that extra, please.
Were you paid for the extra?
We were not paid for the extra. We only submitted 18, so we not got paid for 20. We only got paid for 18. So for the second audit, which was this year, I did 100%
Just
check.
to make sure I understand, you know, MedScheme has given these numbers. I know you complain about the numbers, but there will be an explanation, I'm sure, in due course. They've given you a number, say 183, which is the extra number that you owe. Your version is you dispute that you owe the 183 at all.
Yes, because I've given them 100% check on the second audit. 100% on every patient. If you tell me you got extra, please tell me which one it is. Please, by all means, please tell me. Please tell us, because we've got our house in order.
We had a few shortcomings on the first audit where
Yes.
we had stuff in archives and whatever. We couldn't provide all the data. Whatever we provided, they looked at it and said, okay. So that's why.
My understanding about your version on the first audit is that it was unfair for MedScheme not to give you extra time, bearing in
Yes.
mind
Yes.
the scope of what you had to
Yeah.
investigate.
Yes.
And if they had, because you say you had 1 day, if they had, the unfairness in the investigation is their refusal to give you extra time to prove your quote-unquote innocence.
Yes.
Yeah. On the second audit, just to take it further, I've did 100% check. Every Medicaid number that requested, I went and I pulled out, and we've based it on. We based it on 3 or 4 systems, meaning that a requisition with a result. The requisition is the doctor's orders, instructions.
That forms that,
That
you
form.
looked at.
Then the result, which per lab number per patient, we've conferred. Then I went further. I went to our Chiron, our lab system. We print it out. So if we got a result, it's on our lab system, meaning that we got a result. MediSwitch, which is an independent IT company that handles the actual processing, conferred it to them. They say call it Raj Penku. Yes, we submitted for Raj Penku and we submitted one for him. The next system that we used was their website, where on their website you can access Raj Penku. Yes, these are the procedures that we've done. I went physically, therefore it took me a lot of time. For each patient, for each line item, I went physically and I looked and I said, yes, we correspond. So 4 systems on the second audit corresponds 100%. So you say it's extra, please tell it to us, because I based it on 4 systems. And it's independent. Your own website also I based it on. So therefore we go back to understand that his matrix is actually not ideal. How is actually his benchmark, where he's starting from, is not ideal. That's
Can
where
you
we
just tell
stand.
me, do you know how you were identified for investigation?
No. I don't know. Maybe because of the first audit.
I'm talking about the first audit, because, I mean, not everyone was audited. Some people were audited and others not. But
Well, my feeling, this is my feeling, is that if there's a doctor that MedScheme is gunning, they go and investigate who he's associated with, and then they go and investigate those people. So my feeling is that because maybe we did work for a doctor that MedScheme's got a problem with, so they said, okay, he's doing work with this radiologist, that pathology lab, he's sending to that physiotherapist, let's go and investigate all of them. It's
Your suspicion.
It's my suspicion, and I got no proof about this, but that is why I feel I was victimized, why we as ClinPath were victimized.
who was the doctor they were gunning for on your theory?
I think he's coming to testify here on Friday, Dr. Magan.
And so is it the allegation, your suspicion that they are alleging
I'm under oath.
that you were in cahoots, let's say, with a doctor, and you were getting some
Perverse incentive.
for processing those tests?
Well, that's my suspicion. That's what I think. That's my feeling, that
That's what they think.
that they got a problem with this guy. They haven't paid him a few million. He's brought in lawyers and whatever to contest this thing. So they said, okay, let's investigate all his associates and see what's going on here. But I got no proof, and we'll just leave it at that.
Now, if we then go to the second audit, you say there that you actually verified
Yes, very bad.
what you call the 4 systems,
Yes,
and then it showed that it correlates 100%.
yes.
And why did MedScheme not accept your version?
They just say it's their property. They don't want to disclose the variances, and they terminated dealing with us. And just to add on to the, not to complicate anything any further, in April when they stopped, they just sent a letter saying, sorry, we're not going to deal with you anymore. You cannot submit. And in terminating that, MedScheme revenue stream, to call it, the practice itself was in the region of 35 to 40%. That's a huge cash flow hurt, and that's when the organization has reached this point of where it is, and there's probably about 80 plus odd people that are actually out there now, right now. So the organization is And we,
Well, we've basically closed up shop. We can't afford lawyers and things like that. I mean, it's just a costly exercise. So I'm going gently into that good night. You know what I'm saying? I'm cutting my losses, and I'm going back to go and work for somebody after 12 years of running a good, clean practice. You know. And that includes the 85 people that we had employed at that, you know, in the time that, you know, we're a little small lab in Tongaat. We contributed about 100 million in that 12 years of, you know, of existence of this company to that little community there. Unfortunately, that it's come to the point now where, you know, these guys are all collecting UIF now, and I have to go and, you know, look for a job basically, and including Rajan as well.
So our procedural rules require us to give the complaints to MedScheme to respond to. So MedScheme has given us a response and has indicated that Dr. Manda left your practice.
Yes.
The insinuation, I think, is left under a cloud. Can you just explain when Dr. Manda left and why she left?
We could not pay her what, you know, she made claims. Those claims were not coming through.
she wasn't getting reimbursed.
She was not getting reimbursed from the schemes. We had to pay salaries, and basically we had to keep that lab afloat. So she took the decision that, hey, you know what, I'm out of here. Go back to medical technology and try and, you know, save the lab, save some jobs, whatever. However, she went to another lab. She's getting paid and whatever there, so she's okay. But we got put onto a second audit. The second audit.
Sorry, you didn't ask my question about when she left. Answer my question about when she left.
It was November, end of October. October last year, 2018. After we went through that audit, and
She couldn't get reimbursed.
yeah, she basically, it just came down to, hey, you know what? We're not. She can't sustain being in the practice anymore. So she basically went to another lab where she could get reimbursed. And to date, we haven't seen that response from from MedScheme. I'm seeing this for the very first time today, that response from MedScheme. Also, they laid a charge of fraud, and I'm seeing that for the first time. I made numerous requests to Paul Midlane, you know, give me some sort of information. There's HPCSA complaints. I never got anything to say that, hey, you know what? You did fraud. This is the charges. The last email I sent to him was in June. And I never got a response back. I said, you know what? You laid the charge. I've made inquiries there. No one's coming forth with this charge. HPCSA hasn't contacted me about this complaint. It's like September. I still haven't got any information from HPCSA to state that there's fraud or there's allegations of wrongdoing. So to me, it's like a witch hunt. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're messing with me, I'm going to mess with you, kind of thing. So that feeling of victimization has put me to a point where we have to close that lab down and, get on with things. Because crying about it is not going to pay the bills, our old drafts and what. So I'm seeing it for the first time, this affidavit. I've asked the guys.
So are you aware of the whistleblower reports? There were 4 whistleblowers. That
No,
is
ma'am.
how they
That's-
identified.
That's what I'm saying.
It's news to us.
We never got this information.
Do you know who's Mr. Serapello?
Serapello?
Not sure.
No, ma'am.
You're not sure who he is.
Do you know who's Miss Joubert, Sonia Joubert?
She used to be a marketing person here in Johannesburg.
But did she work with your practice?
She did work for Valerie Manda in Johannesburg. There were quite a few employees that we moved on. And with none achieving Dr. Valerie Manda also.
Your mic.
Dr. Valerie Manda, she worked under Dr. Valerie Manda as marketing. And due to I handled the HR files. Due to non-achieving, Dr. Valerie Manda asked them to move on. And
So she was-
She probably being,
You're saying she was dismissed?
probably, yes, she was dismissed. She was dismissed.
Retrenched because we couldn't pay her.
So asked to move on, and there were other staff from also in the Durban office, Tongat, that moved on due to non-payments and that type of thing. And maybe they said something that we don't know. It's only a suspicion that I think right now that you mentioned it. I never thought about it. Sorry. So it's a disgruntled employee, I don't know, maybe, I'm not sure.
Well, she was owed a bit of money
Salary
in
outside.
back pay, and she did threaten that she's going to go to CCMA and things like that. At that time, we didn't have the money to pay her. In fact, we owing staff, I'd say, maybe about $1 million to 1.5 million in back pay. And it's unfortunate, we got put under this audit. We lost our support from the doctors that used to support us because we didn't have money, we can't buy reagents, can't do the tests. They're obviously going to go to another lab that can do it. So whoever was giving us the work, slowly but surely they just left us and they've moved on to other labs.
Did you receive complaints from doctors regarding the services you provided?
Yes. They just told us, you know what, you guys are not cutting it anymore from what y'all were. I mean,
In terms of service delivery.
we ran a good practice for a number of years. We had no complaints about our turnaround times and things like that.
Until?
Until the cash flow.
Until we got...
So, but roughly, can you give me a year? When did you start getting complaints from doctors regarding your services?
It's 1 year now. It's about a year. That,
From this audit.
yeah.
The time.
Say, as soon as, we experienced the cash flow from the initial audit, and then from there, it was just a steady downhill after that, where we're owing our suppliers in the region of about... It's actually shocking that I'm owing Roche like 800,000. I'm owing the scientific group another 500,000. There's other small guys, Beckman Coulter, Biorad, Randox, NHLS QA department, for all our quality control, and it just, it is what it is now.
And have you had any complaints regarding the quality of your services, not just the turnaround time and service delivery, but the actual...
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't think service delivery and quality. Please distinguish.
Well, at the end of the day, if you can't provide the 24-hour turnaround time, then you can't be in this industry. You know, you can't be in this industry because at the end of it all, there's a person there that's sick. And if you can't provide him that service, you know, leave the room kind of thing, you know.
And did you have, so you would employ, there would be nurses, phlebotomists who would do
Phlebotomists.
and your phlebotomists were all properly qualified?
Yes.
And who would check to ensure that they had the requisite qualifications to be a phlebotomist?
Well, the HR, you have to check SANC registration and things like that. Also, registration as phlebotomist with the NHLS. I mean, the SM LTSA, where they provide phlebotomy certificates and whatever.
So you've seen the response from MedScheme. Have you?
Well, we only saw it now.
I appreciate
So
that.
we haven't actually had a chance to read it and
Haven't read it
understand
yet.
Sorry. Yeah, so we've requested it on numerous occasions. We've requested, if it's anything, please, by all means, talk to us and let's resolve it.
Perhaps I can ask a question on that because it relates exactly to the evidence you've given today, and it's certainly not something that can be resolved partly because the annexures to your first submission were not given to us, and partly because we don't have the annexures to MedScheme's affidavit. They also haven't given that to us. But I'm going to take you to the point which contradicts your evidence today, so we can determine what to make of it. If you go to page 59, and it's under paragraph 6.1. Okay, so paragraph 6 and point 1, I'll take you through it now, but as I understand your evidence earlier, this relates to the first audit, and you indicated that you provided them with all the information that they needed, including all the blood test requisitions. Now here, Divan Fleming goes on affidavit and says certain claims submitted by Dr. Manda did not have the blood test requisition for tests, while other claims had blood results without the requisition to do tests. And then there's an attachment which we haven't seen, and of course you haven't seen, so we don't know what those are. But that contradicts, she's gone on oath and contradicts of what you've said. And then on the next page, if you go over to page 60, at paragraph 7, she carries on and says, on the 14th of May 2018, I requested ClinPath and Dr. Manda to supply me with all the requisitions to do tests and the results of tests conducted for the period. Upon receiving the information, I reconciled it, and the tests were as a result, I reconciled it to see if all the tests were done as requested and that the test results were as requested by the patient's doctor. She carries on, I requested the ClinPath laboratory and Dr. Manda to supply me with outstanding information to validate the claims where information was not supplied and where discrepancies were identified. So there's a clear difference between you and MedScheme on this issue.
I disagree with that statement.
I
disagree with that statement.
I assumed as much. So there's a clear discrepancy in relation to this. We cannot resolve it because you haven't provided us with the annexures, and currently we don't have the annexures from MedScheme, but we would like to. So can we please have the annexures?
Yes,
and
most
clarity
definitely
on this
from
point.
the first audit, most definitely. I'll go back and we've actually had to move
But can you
offices.
also tell us why you disagree with that paragraph?
I've supplied all the data that I had. So he says that we haven't. I'm sorry. So the data that you think that we're supposed to have had, please tell us. So for every
You
patient...
met with Divan Fleming?
Yes, I met with Divan Fleming. I met with Divan Fleming and with the Anita.
Potgieter.
She was his supervisor. I met with them with the files on the table. I had 2 boxes of files on that day. That was about the 15th of August.
Okay, so that's your response to paragraph 7. In paragraph 8, Ms. Fleming says, on further investigation, I discovered that some of the test results were duplicated. Same tests were done twice for certain patients on the same date. And then there's a reference to an annexure, which we don't have.
In fact, on that one, our service provider, which is MediSwitch, part of the Altron group, have sent official correspondence, which was shared with him, that there was an IT issue on a few, not on a hell of a lot, on a few line items,
How many?
which I'm not sure. I'll have to go back to the details. I'll have to go back to my email. Sorry, ma'am. That was in the first audit. So we have, so their response right now is going back to the first audit also. I thought, as per their words, that is closed, signed and sealed. Let not go back and visit that one. But this response is going back to that. I'm sorry. That's exactly how I feel.
No,
right
that's
now.
fine. But you remember that you've told us that even in relation to the first audit, you
Yes.
felt that it was unfair.
It was unfair,
So
but we said it's okay. It's water under the bridge. Let's go on.
No,
It did hurt the practice, no doubt. But by them repeating themselves, that means they're not true to what they want to do. They're doing it for, my thinking is more an economic gain, because those funds are not theirs. Those funds are the patient. If it was there, why didn't they return it back to the patient? Why didn't they put it back into the patient's funds?
No.
In his monetary savings?
Look, we will come back to the issue of the funds. What we are now dealing with is your allegation
Yes.
that MedScheme has been unfair in the way
Yes.
they've treated you. So we're putting their version, which
Yes.
says we've actually been fair to the way we've treated you because you've committed certain irregularities,
Okay.
which we are obliged by law to investigate. Now, some have been put to you. If you've got page 53 of that document,
53.
yes, it's duplicated at 61, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Now, this is the sum total of the case against you. So I don't know if you want to just go through it and then.
Can we have more time for this, sir?
No,
Because,
definitely you can have time
I'm,
to
we're
can
seeing
respond to
this for the
the
very first time.
you can respond to the affidavit
I
in
mean,
full.
I've asked Mr. Midland for this information, and he kept on saying, "Go and check with SAPS. Go and check for SAPS. Go and check with SAPS." They had the information. Why didn't they give it to me?
I understand. I mean, your point is that in relation to the first investigation, you paid money, you believed that it was settled and it was over.
I've got emails confirming that, as per the meeting minutes.
And then later on, you were investigated, which
Again.
also surprised you.
Yes.
But you are now even more surprised that in this inquiry, issues coming from the first
Yes.
investigation are resurfacing. Yeah. All right. Now, in relation to what is at page 53, you're saying that you're not able to answer us now. You want time.
I'd like to read, or we'd like to read the response of this document in detail and understand it also. I think it'll be a bit unfair for us
It's
to
a criminal case, man. We need to consult some sort of lawyer or something like that to say, hey, you know what? They made these allegations. Let's test this thing or whatever, you know?
Let's understand it. If we've done wrong, we've done wrong. Sorry, I mean.
You're saying, well, I mean, just to make
sorry, sir. We told them, if we did wrong, show us the thing and we'll sort it out. We'll pay you guys, or don't just come with a heavy hand and say, hey, you know what? You defrauded MedScheme and I'm taking 300,000 from you, and do what you want. Go and call whoever you want.
Yes. Now, so just to make sure I understand.
That is unacceptable. to me.
Just to make sure I understand what you are saying to us, that if this is what they are alleging, this is what they should have told you during the investigation. It's unfair that they are confronting you with this in the Section 59 inquiry when this is what should have been put to you at the time of the investigation.
Most definitely.
That's what we asked for.
Yes.
We asked for that information. If there's allegations of fraud, show us so we can sort it out. They never did that. They were never forthcoming. It seemed to me like they wanted to drag this thing out, drag it out, until I reached this point where I said I had enough and I'm not going to challenge this thing.
Sorry, just to add on. To me, it seems like they didn't want to resolve it because we didn't have the resources to employ. I tried, don't get me wrong. We've tried to employ a lawyer. The lawyer is 150,000 and upfront before we even start. I mean, for a small practice, which is being challenged on the cash flow, it was like a no-brainer. I mean, we'll try and challenge it himself. His communication with Paul Midland was to try and resolve it. And if it came back, I'm sure it cost the infrastructure a lot to even have this infrastructure around. If that communication happened early on, I'm sorry, I'm not proposing any solution, but yeah.
Would you provide us with a written response to
Most
the
definitely,
documents that have now been provided to you?
most definitely, ma'am, he will.
The allegations and like I said, if there's substance to it, we'll own up to it.
Just to make sure I understand the issue around Ms. Hubert, you're saying that she was let go, which implies that she was fired. Is that correct?
She was retrenched. We gave her a retrenchment letter.
And was she retrenched as a consequence of
Yes.
this investigation?
No, she was let go because we had to start downsizing our organization.
Yes, but it was the impact of the financial constraints you were undergoing.
We had to close down our Joburg operations. It eventually led to the Johannesburg operation closing down, shutting down. We still owing rent, and it's a chamors. It's a chamors. That's what I can say. We've been so much of financial difficulty, it's unreal.
In what position was Ms. Hubert employed?
She was a marketing rep.
That's right, you said so. And did she go to the CCMA afterwards to assert her rights?
We didn't.
We didn't hear anything after that. I think she had somebody call who said he was a lawyer or something like that. And we said, send the documents to us. We'll try and see what we can do. But I think she was just pissed off that she was not going to get paid that money, you know. And hey, we got sorted out. You know what I'm saying? We got sorted out. We're just in a bad position, and the situation just spiraled, and we are where we are. We broken people here now, you know.
Right. You may continue if you have further aspects you still want to cover with us.
Can we just respond to these allegations and things like that? And maybe you guys can set aside another time for us to come and respond to that.
We will give you time to respond. I mean, what was asked for by my colleague is if you could give us a written response to those
Yes.
allegations, including any aspects that you feel are unfair. I mean, one of them is you can't be told in this inquiry about allegations that should have been given to you at the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Because they didn't close down your practice based on these allegations.
Mhm.
They closed them down based on what they were investigating then.
Yeah, it's procedurally they withheld information from me, from us to make a fair response, and it's just heavy-handed. It's heavy-handed.
So
There's
the
no-
money that you paid, I mean, I understand you say this is unfair, and I have no doubt that Mads Kim will say it was fair. But the money that you paid from your side, why did you pay that money?
At that moment in time, we had to pay our staff. We needed to get some sort of. We are put on audit in May. May, June, July, August, September, October. No payments are coming through. 35% of my revenue stream is gone. I'm owing people money. Roche, the scientific group, staff. There's a gun pointed to my head.
How much did
Sign
you
this
pay
document.
ultimately?
Well, they withheld that.
There was about 800 and some odd. Let me refer to the document. It was about 882 or something of that nature that was held back for that period of time. 882,814 rand 60 cents. So I've justified the 20% claim that I spoke of earlier, equated to about 620,000. So the difference of that worked out to 280 some odd thousand. That's what you paid. Yes, that's what we paid in penalties due to the constraint of the business, the outstandings, people putting pressure, staff not getting paid. Between Dr. Valerie Manda and Harry, Harry Prasad, they made the call of saying, it's okay, we'll lose that money, it's okay, but whatever little we got, we can still pay the staff off, pay some people off, make some arrangement with the suppliers. So that's why.
And subsequent to that, we're making claims. They're paying it to us and then reversing it on the next remittance. So if I did blood tests on patient A, they'll pay it to me
2 months later.
on the 15th of January. On the next pay run, a remittance will come back that's been reversed.
With no reason.
We asked for information about that. That was never given to us. It seemed like,
It's in our document there.
they wanted to sort us out.
No. Well, I mean, we hear that you are complaining about their conduct, but what we are really interested in is to establish the facts. So it doesn't really help us to
The
keep on
fact
reminding
is,
us that Medscape
the
acted
fact is,
unfairly.
at that moment in time, I had to make a call. Do I bear this loss and carry on with my business, or do we fight this thing and close down? I made the call. Me and Dr. Val made the call. We said, listen, we got people to pay. It's Christmas coming up. Let's just sign this document and move on. January comes. They stop the payments again. Valerie leaves. It's back to my practice number. Then this nonsense starts again, where they start auditing me. Paying the claim, reversing the claim. Then they send, there's a whole list of patients, go and sort it out, 16 patients. We get the documentation, we send it through. They still say there's a discrepancy. They say they use the term fiduciary responsibility. In the interest of fiduciary responsibility, your practice is a risk and we cannot be terminating services from you guys.
Just in relation to the first one, that you agreed that you made a business call, that it's better that it should be paid. The quantum, the amount that was paid, how was that arrived at?
Rajan
Okay,
explained it.
At that
previously.
point, it was a lot higher. With the back and forth correspondence of what we submitted, it came down to about 882,000. And based on that matrix, when I went in August to MedScheme's office, the audit office there, I took my files through and I didn't do 100%, I took the 20%. That 20% equated to his matrix, those random pick, equated to 600 and some more thousand. So what Anita and Divan did was take the 800, subtract what I justified, that's a balance, please, that's your penalty. That's how it was done. And due to the business constraint, Dr. Valerie and Harry Prasad made the call of saying it's
No, I
just to
understand.
keep the business going.
So what I am trying to understand here is that you remember that when they started the investigation, they gave you specifics
Yes,
of what they claimed you owed.
yes.
But when the figure was arrived at, the final figure to be reclaimed or repaid, was there any reference made to the original claim that they said you were owing the schemes?
No.
So even the last figure was just a bargain figure. It was a thumbs-up figure.
The 882?
Yeah.
No, it was based on the matrix. Because on the same principle of a code, they say we did 10 items and we could justify 7. So they call it the 3 items that was not. What's the value of the 3 items? Then they took that percentage and they said from a date of, call it 2016, to the date of the audit, you did so much, so that percentage, 3% will be, and that's how they came up with the total.
No, I understand. But what I'm trying to get to is, you see, if you've over-serviced, as an example, and the consequence of the over-servicing is 520 rands because you are claiming for an extra hour that you didn't actually service. And that is what I should pay back.
Okay, let's take a step back, sorry. When you say over-service, our correspondence, meaning the requisition to the results, are correct.
Yes,
So we haven't done anything extra. So we haven't over-serviced.
yes.
They haven't showed the difference that they claim to tie it back to the patient. So they haven't showed that difference. If they showed that difference based on a patient, and yes, shown on the internet, on their website, yes, we've over-serviced that patient, but we were requested to do 1 only, and we've done 5.
Yes.
No problem, by all means, please.
Take their money.
Yes,
Take it back.
It's okay.
No, I understand. But that's what I'm trying to get to, is that when you finally agree on the number to be repaid,
Yes.
it's not a number based on the actual discrepancy if it was over-servicing. It is just a number you've negotiated with the scheme.
Yes, based on the matrix.
It was what you guys need to ascertain from Med Scheme is how do they determine that. We didn't know how they determined it. They gave us a figure initially of 2.3 million. They said, you've defrauded the Med Scheme by 2.3 million. Provide us with this documentation. We provided whatever we could. It came down to 800,000. There was still that discrepancy of some forms we couldn't get and whatever. They said, right, 264,000 penalty, take the rest. Carry on. But, sorry, we were still submitting to them. We're submitting to Med Scheme. So they withholding our payments. For 6 months, they withheld our payments. We came to a point to say, you know what, these guys are they're gonna pull the trigger. We have to make the call that we have to make this business survive. So after all was said and done, they said there's 800,000 there. Y'all can't show us this information here. That's the penalty. We're holding back your amount. This amount, and we'll pay all the rest. So that 800,000 was monies that we claimed that was owing to us. They said, right, from all that was this thing, so much is the discrepancy, we're going to withhold that thing. And they did that subsequently. However, they were not, they played dirty. They played dirty with us after that.
Just another question, just in relation to this meeting in August that Mr. Penku went to where this negotiation took place. Are there any minutes of that meeting?
I've got some email correspondence to the effect. I just need to pull it out. It's an archive.
So it would be good.
Sorry, it's an archive, sorry.
Please, can we have any minutes of that meeting, or any correspondence relating to it, because it would be good to
No
see
problem.
that.
No.
Did you complain did you file any complaint with the Council for Medical Schemes regarding your allegations of unfair treatment by the schemes?
Well, I just sent an email. And then nothing happened, and then about a week ago, a lady called me and said, hey, you know what, you made this complaint, come and testify at these hearings. So I said, yeah, okay, I'll come and tell my story here.
I just separate this hearing from the Council for Medical Schemes that regulates the medical schemes, right?
No,
So
no.
at the time when all of this was happening, and you felt that you were being put under pressure by the schemes,
Yeah.
and that you were being treated unfairly, did you lay a complaint with the Council for Medical Schemes
No.
then?
No.
No.
I did send an email, a blanket email, to a few people at the HPCSA, to the council as well, and I never got a response back until I heard from Nkululeko in Gele. So it was kind of surprising. And also, like I said, there was a dossier here that was prepared against ClinPath or for ClinPath. I'm seeing it now, today. And I don't want to say anything disparaging or anything, but the council has to protect us, man.
The behavior.
They have to protect us against these people, because they're withholding funds that don't belong to them. We are small people here. I'm not Lancet, I'm not Empath. I can't fight this thing here. And this opportunity that you guys have, don't waste this thing, man. Don't
Look,
waste it.
If you've got no further evidence to give, I mean, it doesn't really help to preach to us.
No,
what
I'm
we should
sorry.
be doing.
I'm just getting a bit emotional, sir.
All right.
But
No,
that's
fine.
how I feel.
No, that's
It's
fine.
an opportunity to change and transform this industry.
All right. Have you got anything else to say on the facts of this thing? Because I'm sure everybody has their views about what we should do. If we allowed everybody, we'll never finish the investigation. Do you have anything else to add to your complaints, or anything else you would like us to inquire into?
We just need more time to go through the document. We never had sufficient time to prepare any sort of thing. Like I said,
I appreciate that. Yeah.
about a week ago,
yeah.
they said, hey, come and talk here.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I appreciate that. Okay. Well, the Secretariat will be in touch with you in relation to your response to this. There are certain documents we would still also ask you to give to us, but they
We
will
will cooperate, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. All right, I presume then that marks the end of your oral testimony today. If you are called later, you will be notified. Thank you very much for coming and for submitting. And I understand it's a rather tough environment to be in. And the feelings of unfairness, I mean, are perfectly understandable from where you stand. But our job is defined by the terms of
Can I
reference.
just say something?
Yes, please.
In the medical field, your defining thing should be the patient. You know, the medical schemes need to act in the interest of the patient. You know, and a lot of people consider this now a business. It's not a business. They're sick people at the end of it all. And we must do right by them. Thank you.
Thank you. We will take the adjournment until the next presentation at 1, which is by JMH Holdings. The inquiry is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.